Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're going to give maybe another minute or two to just let people trickle in, and then I'll kick off the webinar. But welcome as you're joining, and we will get started here shortly. Um, we have a pretty full agenda today, so we won't waste too much time to get started. But just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to get in the room and get settled. So. I will give it till 12:01, so another maybe 30, 40 seconds, and then we'll kick off. Yes, and please feel free as you join to let us know where you're dialing in from. Always curious to hear who we've got on the line and what our, global spread looks like. So all right. I think we can dive right in. We've got a lot to cover, so appreciate everyone jumping on and getting here right on time. Welcome. I'm Gina Raffo. I run product marketing over at Abacum. I will be your host for today. Um, this is the second of a session of three webinars Abacum's hosting around practical use cases for AI in FP&A and finance. There's a lot of noise and hype around AI out there, but I think we're all really trying to crack the code on how to make it tangible for the things that we're doing and spending time on. And so that's really the meaning behind this series. And I'll introduce my guest star today in a moment, but he's really the expert and leader in that topic specifically. So really excited to have him here. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen quickly. All right. So before we dive in, I do have a little bit of housekeeping. So the Zoom Q&A and chat are both live. So like I mentioned in chat, please feel free to drop where you're dialing in from. And you can pop questions in chat as we go. There's also the Q&A function. Either way, I'll be reviewing both. So both are fine and open for you. We'll answer questions at the end of the session, or if there's some that are particularly timely as I see them coming in, maybe we'll pause and answer them as we go. This content will be recorded and shared afterwards. So everyone who's registered for this session, we will send this content. And then we would love to hear any feedback you have. So please reach out to our team following the session with any feedback you have or what you'd like to see in the future, more depth, more different topics, etc. So appreciate that. Today, we'll kick off with some quick welcome and intros. Then we'll spend the bulk of the time on the masterclass and some quick demos from Abacum. And before we really dive in, I'm really excited to introduce our co-host for today, Nicolas Boucher. He is very recognized as the leading voice of AI in finance. He's trained more than 10,000 professionals, delivered 200 plus keynotes, trainings on how AI is changing the finance function with a specific focus on making AI practical and attainable for everyone in their role today. He's worked with global organizations like PwC, Mercedes-Benz, Chanel, KPMG to help those teams understand how to actually apply AI in their workflow. Before that, he had about 15 years of working as an operator in these roles himself. So it's not theoretical. He's bringing real practical information and expertise, and then applying that AI layer over top. So today we're going to cover together three different FP&A workflows and kind of how AI can help you today, which is what Nicola will cover. And then I'll show you also how Abacum can kind of help even more take your workflow with AI to the next level. So we'll sort of tag team three separate topics, and I expect this will be a very valuable session for both. So thank you for joining us. And Nicola, welcome.
Thank you, Gina. And thank you, everybody who also connected in the chat. Please use the chat to give us your questions, your remark. How do you react to what we show you? I have the chat while open in front of me, so I see all of your comments. I see Jordi, Lena, Joel, Risha. So we really want all of you to be active. And it's not your standard webinar where people are only talking. We are going to show you how AI can help you. Like we really show you stuff. Like we are not talking about it. We are showing to you so you know how you can use it right now. So make sure you focus as well, that you don't do something else. And we are really excited because we prepared Gina and myself for a lot of use cases, super concrete. So let's start.
Great. So with that said, let's kind of get into part one, which is really around data hygiene. And, most of that for a lot of us is happening in Excel today or in our spreadsheets. From what you're seeing, how can AI help people basically spend less time wrangling their data across spreadsheets and more time actually getting to the real business of analyzing it? And I will stop my screen share so you can
Yeah.
dive
So
in.
you see, this is like, and especially I think in FP&A, before you can even analyze the data, you spend so much time gathering the data, then compiling the data, then cleaning the data until you can make your magic pivot table on this. And like, tell us in the chat if you relate to that, that you spend too much time on just like manipulating the data and almost no time really analyzing it, even though it's actually your job is to analyze it, not to manage the data. Yeah, Peter is saying that. So let me show you something which actually you can already do today with the current tools you have. You don't even need normally to have new tools because this is really new, but it starts to be spread everywhere. So tell me in the chat if you know this situation where you have all of it could be credit card statement, it could be sales orders, it could be vendors information, it could be like just a lot of different Excel files that you have to combine and that you lose hours of that. Because I see like yeah, Jordi said that, Matt, yes, as well. So Stefan as well said that. It's a big point, pain point, yeah. So then let me show you one tool that you all have if you have Copilot business, because a lot of people are bashing on Copilot, but they don't know that they have actually amazing tools because maybe Microsoft is not good as hyping themselves as good as Claude is doing that or ChatGPT. So there is Claude in Excel, there is now ChatGPT in Excel, but Microsoft has their own Copilot in Excel and Excel AI agent mode, which they launched 5 months ago. And tell me in the chat who knows about Excel AI agent mode. Um, I will increase the screen after. So Larissa doesn't know about it. Didn't know about it. Some of you know about it. Matt has been seeing it. Good. So let me show you, especially for those who don't know about it. So imagine this situation where you have this file and you have this data where you're not really interested about these columns. The first lines are useless. And you have that in 30 tabs. So you have to consolidate all of these tabs before you can even analyze the credit card statement. And normally you will take a few hours to consolidate, delete the columns, delete the lines. You want also to keep the name of each tab. So it's a huge manual work. So instead, what we are going to do is we are going to click on Copilot and the agent mode is coming. And there I will explain in plain English that I want to consolidate all of the tabs, that I want to delete the columns, that I want to delete the lines. So basically, like I will explain to somebody in my team. And on top, and this is a big change, I'm also asking to start the analysis. And so think about how long it will take you to do that if you have to do it manually. Probably 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Here, you will see how long it took. Just look all here. In this zone, it will tell us that it took around 69 seconds. In 69 seconds, it consolidated all of the tabs. So now it's quite clean. I don't have like unnecessary information and I have all of the tabs in one. But on top of the consolidation where I see each transaction by cardholder, I have also a new tab called analysis. And this analysis tab has the spend by cardholder and the spend by day. And like this, I can see my outliers and I can identify who are the big spender and which days had anomalies in 69 seconds. So this is now like available in AI, in Excel for everybody who has a corporate business license. If you have ChatGPT and you are in the US and UK, I think they just released ChatGPT in Excel. If you have Claude, you have also Claude in Excel. All of them they are almost the same. They are that powerful. And you have also to understand this is the first version. We are just at the first months of this. So uh, one maybe before I stop on this, one really important note. Yes, this is good. Us, we still have to monitor it. We still have to audit it, and that's something really important, like to keep as guardrails. But this is the start, and this is going to change the way we work.
Yeah, 1000%. And that's amazing, even on its face, of just how much time you could cut out, like you said, down to 69 seconds. It's crazy. Um, and even beyond that, what I'd like to talk about is taking a different cut of the data hygiene problem, and you get non-standard records, right? Through your GL, you're getting Amazon, AWS, all kinds of different naming conventions for really what is the same vendor. So what I'd like to show is just something we've released in Abacum. I won't go into depth about what Abacum is, but it's an FP&A platform. We standardize and integrate data for lots of different platforms and systems, and then that can be used for analysis inside of our platform. But one of the really cool things we've done with AI inside of that platform is layering in um, some additional tools for data hygiene and speeding some of this up even further. And so what I'll show here is our AI data cleaner, which essentially is going to take a pretty rough, messy column of vendor data and apply in one click, essentially creating a new column with that data completely cleaned and standardized so it's ready for analysis, like again, within seconds. So you can see I'm naming my new column here in my record. While this is loading, you can take a look. There's a few different iterations of Google, a few different iterations of Amazon, some reference numbers in those GL lines that make it hard to actually pull that report by vendor. What this will do is just standardize that. I can then use that to inform my model as opposed to this rough original pass. And again, it takes maybe about 80 seconds or so all in. And we've got clean, standardized data attached directly to our model so we can start doing that next level of vendor analysis. And this would apply to columns of any type of data. I just use vendor as an example because I think that's the one that comes to mind for me as a particular pain. So, yeah, I, you can take the manual steps out, either using Excel, as Nicola showed, using a tool like Abacum, and these are just a few examples. There are lots of other ways that we can be using AI on top of our current workflow to get the data we need faster and in the right format. So, with that said, let's move on to, oops, an additional use case, which is around preparing for board meetings. So preparing for a board meeting is one of those workflows that pulls a lot of different pieces together. You are pulling your data, cleaning it like we just showed, then you're creating your materials, you're creating your deck, you're adding commentary, and then you're also spending some time preparing yourself. What questions am I going to get asked? How should I walk into this room? Nicola, can you maybe take us through how someone might create an AI agent or use an AI tool to help with that board meeting preparation process?
Yes, Gina. So really important is that often the information that we need to prepare for the board, they will come from many sources. Of course, Excel, the ERP, but you have also a lot of qualitative information that you get from discussing with all of the other departments. And this information is unstructured. Maybe they sit a bit in your mind, maybe they sit in some emails, some notes that you took. But one thing I suggest to everybody is to activate right now all of the transcripts to all of the meetings And when you have the transcript, then you can automate the way you organize the information from this transcript. And let me show you how. So here, this is transcript I have, imagine with the FP&A manager with marketing. So in this transcript, they just talk about the performance of the platform and social media and the budget. And this is what the standard, I would say, person will do on AI. They will just say, oh, summarize this transcript. And because when we do that, when we just prompt, because we don't have time, but we want to get a summary of it, then we get something that, again, like we have all of the information inside, but it's not ready for the board. Like there, I don't really know what I should present, what should go in the executive summary, what are the risks, what are the opportunities. It's not really arranged like I will present it for the board. So instead, I created a tool. And in this tool, I don't even need to prompt. Like you can look, I'm just uploading the transcript, no prompt. And in a few seconds, it creates an executive summary with the what, so what, know what, which is one of the financial storytelling tactics used by the biggest consulting companies. So now we already have the message. Then after, it uses sections that follow also what I do in my board. So the insights with always the quote of what we said in the meeting, plus the reframe of how I can say that in my board, what I can write in the presentation. And I have the same for opportunities, I have the same for risks. So it follows really my structure of the board. Then after that, our also recommendation, but I also have a visualization plan. And this plan helps me also anticipate how am I going to present the information visually with graphs, with maybe key messages. And I start to get prepared for the potential questions that could come on the topic from this transcript. So that means here, to get this quality here, I've prepared a tool. And the question is that I get from everybody is, yeah, but how do you get that? Like, what is the trick behind this? And so this is what we call a custom GPT, which you can do with also Copilot as a Copilot agent or Gemini Gems or Claude skill. And inside are all of the instructions. So it's like a big prompt. That's why I didn't need to prompt before because it knows these big instructions that is telling the AI to always extract the information and structure it the same way for each of the transcript. So next month, my other transcript, I can put the same type of PDF. It will give me the same type of output, but just with different information. Now, the question is, how did I write that? Because this is quite extensive as instruction. Do you know how I did that, Gina?
I'm gonna guess that you asked ChatGPT to help you write it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you need to know basically how to ask ChatGPT for this.
Mhm.
And so usually the process that people will have to get the output that we got from the first go, they will go through like an iterative process. So let me show you. So the secret method is that the process, you first start, oh, I am a CEO, I need to present the information in these different topics, okay? So now you have like the structure, and just to re-explain to everybody, now I am in a normal chat. So in this normal chat, I say I'm a CFO, I need to present for the next board. So I kind of already give a bit the context. I give the transcript. It's a normal chat. And because it's a normal chat, yes, it does the summary following these 4 or 5 categories, but it's still like it lacks the CFO reframe. We don't have the executive summary. We don't have the ID for to visualize this. We don't have the anticipated question. So then I continue and say, oh, change a bit the style. Like, for example, show me always the quote of what I already said in the transcript. And then rechange it in the way that I will say it in the board. So now I have it like this. Now I say, okay, add a visualization plan. and make it a table because, and so for each, now I have a visualization plan, but actually I wanted to have just one table. I don't want to have like five tables. So again, I will continue to write and explain what I really want. So that's the next iteration. So you see, I just say, and tell me in the chat if you are the same where you always have to refine and refine with AI until you get the result that you wanted from the first time, from the first go. And now I'm asking, okay, now at the beginning, give me an executive summary, and at the end, show me the most probable question. Now I have the executive summary, I have the insight, the opportunity. So it starts finally to look like what I really wanted from the first go. And that's really where now I'm happy. I say, okay, and that's really important. I want to pause 2 seconds on this. This is the most important part.
Mhm.
Now we say, okay, yes, this is what I wanted. And then I'm going to ask, and really, really important is the trick here. You are going to ask for the system prompt that will give the same output, the same structure for the next time you have a new transcript. And like you say, Gina, I'm asking AI to help me write the instruction. And this instruction, I'm going to copy this in a custom GPT. And like this next time, this custom GPT, I just need to upload the PDF and then I have exactly the same type of output. And that means now for all of the board, you are much more ready. It's much faster. And you can go further and saying, okay, like start also like drafting the content of each slide. And as we are, and we'll see that later, AI starts to be able to create PowerPoint slides, which Gina, I prepared this today. So you can even like go further and push and start also to prepare the PowerPoint slides if you want. And so I know you prepare something like this. You want to share what you prepared on this, Gina?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and that's a great example of just how to mature your usage of AI really quickly, learning how to not just prompt appropriately, but scale your prompts by having basically ChatGPT coach you back on how to get better results. So that's really great practical information too that I mean, I do the same thing for my product marketing use cases as well. So, um, yeah, so exactly. You have your preparation for the board, but you also have to create a board deck or board materials. One thing we're seeing as an FP&A platform is that some of our customers don't even use their board deck anymore. They use the actual spaces inside of Abacum where you can have metrics, charts, commentary, kind of all living together without having to flatten it into slides and kind of bring it into those snapshots. But I think we all know that uh, board decks going away permanently for every business is not practical in the next few years. I think we will continue to have that cadence as a function. Um, so that's where Abacum's relationship with these other AI engines comes into play. So we've created a MCP server for Abacum. So once your data is connected, cleaned, built into your model inside a platform like Abacum, then you can still do what we were just showing and use the tools like Claude or ChatGPT. The example I'm going to share here is with Claude to actually create your board materials. I'm going to use quite a simplistic example. So you can see here I am in Claude typing out my prompt, asking for my most recent quarter, prepare a deck for my board meeting. But because it's also connected to the rest of the wide world of the internet, I can ask for some benchmarks to be added. I can have external data pulled in to support the storytelling I want for the board. So you can see here Claude connecting back to Abacum, pulling out my scenarios, my actuals, making sure it understands my model structure and logic. And then it's also going to grab some benchmark data. And the beauty and the magic here is that it's going to create that first version of the deck for me without me having to really curate anything. I could, of course, have uploaded a template from last quarter and say, I want it to look and be structured like this, or similar to the prompting exercise we just did, say, here's slide by slide how I like my board deck to flow. This, I went blind basically and let Claude give me, based on my numbers, its best recommendation. But it created essentially a good looking first pass at a board deck. Again, I could have layered in brand guidelines or anything else to support this and get it as close as possible to final. But the beauty here is that it's also connected back to that source data in Abacum. So if I get a ping from my sales leader, hey, like I just pushed new revenue numbers or we closed 3 deals we didn't expect to at the last minute, I can refresh that without having to like rebuild the deck. It will pull new numbers, update all my materials directly um, in Claude, and I can upload that immediately to Google Slides to continue editing. All those charts and graphs are editable. That's functionality coming from Claude and edit the text, change how the narrative is presented, etc. All of it configurable after that first or second pass. So that's again just one of the ways. Like I mentioned, we have spaces inside of Abacum that can also have these contextual presentations of your data with AI summaries and some other things. But what I really wanted to show was how we can also use the existing tools to extend the value of something like Abacum in terms of actually creating that presentation. I'm just taking a look at the chat here. Cool. Okay, moving on to our third part of our session today. Oops.
There was maybe some questions that maybe I think relevant to
Oh,
uh,
I didn't see them. Hold on.
yeah, you can have a look.
Oh, I see. How do you handle workflows with AI that require a lot of data and context, such as budget, actual variance analysis, and commentary? Are these scenarios where AI sitting on top of the tool can make sense to consolidate and clean your data? Yes, exactly. So that's really the power of having a platform like Abacum with these AI tools layered on top, is you can create the workflows inside of that platform where you're housing your scenarios, you're modeling on top of that of the data you're pulling in from your ERP, maybe from your sales systems, maybe from your HR systems, all in one place, and then curating that data so that when you're accessing it through something like Claude, it's already clean and ready for use. It's also secured based on your permissions within Avacum. So what I ask for in Claude is what I have access to based on like the permissions of my organization versus I'm just going rogue uploading spreadsheets to ChatGPT out there in the world, which certainly has some level of risk exposure depending on your role and your access. I hope that answers your question, Nicola. Anything you would add to that?
Well, I think that's really important to understand, and that's the goal also of this masterclass. With the generic tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and also Excel AI agent mode in with Copilot, it's basically the Swiss knife tools. Like you can do a lot of different things, but once you start to scale, once you want integration, once you also don't want really the human to touch it, that's where integrated tools have a big advantage. And because you have developers, you have teams that have thought about the best process and the best way to use AI for this. And you cannot expect every person in finance to figure out on their own how to use ChatGPT the best way to do FP&A workflow the best way possible. You'll
Mhm.
have people that can do it really in a great way, and other people will still struggle. And that's why also having consistency, having I'll say like automation with specific tools is important, especially if you have them at scale, if you have a team where depending on who is doing it, you don't want like a big variation of type of analysis or how the reports look like. So I think that's always important to understand when is the strength of this generic tool, when is the strength of specific tools, and that's the goal here is to show you like the good of each. So like this, you can also understand, okay, when is the right time to have a specific tool, when is the right time also, or what I can do already with the generic tools.
Yes, exactly. And then I have another question here around brand guidelines and instructions. Can those be shared? So with things like Claude Cowork, they can be shared. So you could have a shared drive folder that You can store your brand guidelines, image stylings, all in one folder that that Cloud Cowork agent can access. So it could be centralized. I would say if you have a very specific output or instruction, probably share it in a document so everyone can kind of build that. I would also say Chat GPT, those agents like Nicola demoed, you can make those available across your organization. You can share the context of those agents and make them,
Yeah.
um, yeah, available across the
Yeah.
org.
And you are still dependent that the person using it understand how to ask it and how to use this folder which is inside the organization. So it's a
Yes.
lot of training also needed, a lot of culture. That's why like coming to this masterclass is really important for everybody who's here because if you learn that, the goal is after that you also spread that in your organization, that you are yeah, like the champion of AI for finance.
Yes, exactly.
Good.
One more quick question for you. Sorry, can you please show how you set up the agent in GPT? You did show that. So I think when you see the
I think I
recording,
can just re-show it take 2 seconds to re-show exactly where it is.
yeah, okay.
Um, and then after we can move on to the next topic, which is really cool, is how to do scenario modeling with AI. So
Yeah.
when you are in ChatGPT and you need to pay for it, that's maybe just something. It's you need to go to explore GPTs and to create, and then you just paste your instructions here and you give a name, and that's all. Then you save and it's finished. So, but that's only available when you pay for it. If you don't pay for it, you can always keep the instructions and just start your discussion with these instructions.
Hmm. Great. I won't share my screen again just because it's just the section title, but let's move on to our third topic, which is around scenario modeling with AI.
Yeah.
Um, where are you seeing AI most helpful in helping teams move faster with their planning and forecasting, especially like we are living in uncertain times and reforecasting faster is increasingly important across finance and really every team and having that agility. So how does AI help?
Yeah. So I want to ask everybody in the chat if they relate to this situation where it's like Friday night and your CEO enters in your room, or maybe they Slack you or they send you a message in team and they want again another forecast. And so as a CFO or in FP&A, you have to redo it again, but it's Friday evening. You had plans for this weekend. So I remember myself having this situation all the time where you have to spend your whole weekend on it or your whole evening, and then the meeting is already on Monday. So you have maybe no margin of error. It happens a lot, says DJ. Yeah. So how can you use AI so you don't have to spend your weekend on this? Because I used to spend really my weekends on this type of topic. So first, let's build a model in Excel with AI. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say I'm a CFO of manufacturing company and I'm giving the assumptions. So I want a base scenario, an expansion to the US, and a pessimistic one. And then I'm going to use my actuals for 2025, which I am now uploading. Um, And I can upload because I have a business license for ChatGPT, so I don't have any problem about data confidentiality. And I asked to create a financial model with variable assumptions. Really important if we want to reforecast. So now after a few minutes, I have a link where I can download the model. And now let's see what ChatGPT built for us. So we have an assumption sheet then we have a base sheet with all of the different formulas you can see at the top. And I will just, because it was a bit fast, look at the top. Everything has formula and is linked to this assumption sheet. So then for each scenario, we have a tab which is also linked with formulas. The same for EX expansion, the same for the pessimistic scenario. And on top, we have a README tab, which is better than what humans are doing generally. So let's test it. And here, if for the US, we want to change the assumptions, and we increased to 50%. So our sales moved here. So that means when I test it, the model is working. And that took me a few minutes to create this model, which normally takes hours of work. And this is could be a bit more simple than what you are used to as model. First, this is because we are here. Like I have 2 minutes to show you something, so I cannot show you something crazy. If not, I will spend more time explaining the model than showing you really functionality. But you can go a bit more complex. But imagine the time you are saving. And I audited it. The formulas are working. Everything is linked. So that means now I already saved my Friday afternoon, my Friday evening, but I still have to prepare for the meeting on Monday. And this meeting on Monday, usually you will create graphs, copy and paste some assumptions. And the problem is that in this meeting, a lot can happen. So instead of doing a traditional PowerPoint presentation, we're going to be a bit more modern. And as a CFO or head of FP&A, we are going to be a bit more proactive because we don't want just to be passive in this meeting. We want to lead this meeting. And that's very important to use AI not only to save time, but also to change the way we are in finance in meetings. So I'm activating the Canvas mode in ChatGPT and I'm asking to build a dynamic slide deck in HTML to present this scenario. So basically, I'm building a tool that will allow me to present the scenario, but not only presenting the scenario, and then if something happens, I have to go back, redo everything, and then we reorganize the meeting, and then the board is there, and then you just like everybody's losing their time with having always meetings and meetings of new version of the forecast. Instead, we build this tool, and in this tool, what I have is I have first the assumptions. After I have the comparison, and I have this the same for revenue. I have it also for the margin. And if in this meeting, somebody, your CEO or marketing, they are asking for new assumptions for a change. They want to be a bit more aggressive on the US. Say, okay, let's increase the US expansion. Instead of going back and to your forecast in Excel and then organize a new meeting, you have already the result in the meeting. And that changed totally the way you in finance are acting in this meeting because you are now the one in charge with really like the presentation. You can lead the meeting, you can show the different possibilities. And if somebody is asking you a question, you have the response directly, which means that you accelerate the way the company is making decisions and you help everybody and you facilitate to move towards the goal of okay, let's take a decision, let's see what are the different alternatives, but let's finish this meeting with a decision rather than being the one which makes everybody slower, because often also finance is a bit slow. You have, oh no, like sorry, I need another day to finish, and everybody is like really impatient. No, we need the figures now. Actually everybody will say, wow, like I wasn't ready to have a decision today, but thank you, we are done.
Yes, exactly. And I think like missing that moment of decision and coming in with the numbers too late is really the biggest risk to the business, right? It's like you can't get a clear picture in time for it to actually matter. And you're finding out in next month's actuals that some kind of crazy decision was made and you're hiring 8 sales reps you didn't plan for. Great. So let me share a little bit about how we're handling that in Abacum, which is a similar workflow, honestly, of having that like agile scenario modeling over top. The difference, once again, is that this is connected to your full model, not just something you've like mocked up for the sake of that exercise. It's connected to all your historical data, your actuals, all your existing scenarios. So what we've created inside of Abacum is a feature we call Scenario Studio. And it basically allows you to have that agility with future planning, but this use case in particular I'm going to show is more around back solving from a target. So I'm looking here at my space in Abacum, my ARR space. I'm asking our embedded Abacum intelligence, hey, how can I get my new ARR up? We need to grow faster. How can I hit a 5 million target by December 2025? How do I actually make that happen? So you can see the AI running, looking through my different scenarios, and it's going to ask me to open Scenario Studio, which is essentially like a wizard on top of our AI that allows me to build out a model to actually see that scenario. So I get my $5 million target in here. I've done the initial back solve, but there's some tweaking I'd like to make. So you can see all of my different constraints set by sensitivity. I can set a quota capacity max, for example. Maybe I don't see our sales team performing over a certain level. I can also look into how that model is actually calculated and back solved and how those constraints string together to the actual metric that I'm solving for and how those calculations are working behind the scenes. So I can continue to configure this. I can run different iterations of this scenario. It will give me kind of like the monthly forecast projected forward for every different component. And then when I'm done, I can save that back as a scenario actually in my planning tool, and that will distribute it to the rest of the organization. Say like, hey, we've made some updates. We're hitting this 5 million new ARR target, and here's how we're going to get there and the monthly targets across. So then I'm unlocked to share that for purposes of collaboration to make sure the whole business is aligned to a pivot on the plan. And that's how we're managing it in in Abacum. And one of the things I want to point out here as well is because we've built this feature specifically for this use case versus in an open AI tool, because I saw a couple questions in the chat of like, why do we need a platform if you can do so much in an AI tool, which I think is a fair question. One of the things with Scenario Studio in particular is our team has been able to decide and build this to determine where the logic should be deterministic and where it should be actually AI, which is important for this type of thing in terms of data trust. Like an AI tool is always going to be completely probabilistic, and sometimes in scenario modeling, you just need that deterministic ability to configure. And so that's why the functionality we've built on top of our platform has a little bit of extra value there. So that's sort of how I'd explain it. Anything you want to add there, Nicola, on that question in particular? I think we addressed it a little bit before as well.
Yeah, I think now there are some good questions in the chat. Maybe you can stop sharing the screen. But yeah, like I think generally, and before we go to Q&A, what is really important is we're already at the beginning of all of this.
Yes.
Uh, I see a lot of people say, yeah, but you need to pay attention to what you can trust or not. Keep this, like this mentality is good, but it should not stop you from moving. And yes, uh, check your figures, check everything. Like all of the examples I showed you, I've audited them, but when I audit, I do not audit everything manually. I ask AI to help me audit. I ask
Mhm.
AI, show me that your calculations are correct. For example, just in a model, you can ask AI, add another tab which does all of the calculation check, or ask to create graph based on the data, because in a graph you can see straight away the problem. Like if there is like one day where there is like huge peak and down, and you don't see it because it's flattened over the months, but you will see that, oh, this day is weird, and then you see it straight away. So I think inside all of us in finance, our DNA is to be super cautious, to pay attention. So this is good, but it doesn't mean that we should not move forward. So use this in your advantage so you don't get burned by it, but it should not slow you down from adopting technology.
Yeah, it's 1,000% agree. And we'll move into Q&A. I've got some I've kind of checked off to address as we've been going through. But before I do that, I just want to say that AI is ever evolving. Like there's new things happening every single week with AI in terms of finance use cases and across the business. Like as leaders in finance, you'll also probably be asked to help the business decide where you're investing in AI. So starting to educate yourself on what's possible and what's out there like is incredibly important. We are hosting an in-person event in New York City, all around AI in the office of the CFO, April 9th in New York. I will be sending in our follow-up email as well as some information on that. But I really encourage anyone, especially if you're in the New York area, to come join us. We'll be having some panels. We've got the team from OpenAI actually coming to give a keynote and talk about how they're adapting to AI in their finance team. So it should be really interesting sessions um, about really how this is changing our industry and all industries and all functions really, and how we can be adaptable to that. Um, which leads me, I think, into my first question that I've flagged from the chat, which is how can we embrace AI without concern about getting replaced by AI?
Yeah, so for me, now two profiles will really come out of what stays once AI is there. Uh, the first one is the people that are actually really good at AI because
Mm,
they will just be faster than most of their colleagues. And in my career, it was always an advantage that to be super comfortable with tools. I got access to the management because I was the guy doing all of the PowerPoints. So all of the meetings where normally only the CFO was there, I was always with them because I was managing the PowerPoint. I was
mm,
changing live if something needed. And then I could learn much faster. I could have access to information which was not accessible to other people. And I think the AI guys or AI girls who will be the champion of their team, they will have access to this even better than before because they will be closer to the management. They will be also closer to other departments because other departments will want this, like this speed, like the speed of execution, the speed of insights. They will want also that finance is less heavy in terms of processes because we have to accept it, because we are a function which has a lot of rules. Sometimes we are a bit heavy on other functions. So if you are the person making lighter this for everybody else, yeah, like you will take so much room in your company. It's a huge advantage. So I think the AI profiles, a big advantage. Then the second profile will be people that are super businessy, meaning that, okay, AI can do the technical stuff, AI can do all of the mundane tasks, but AI is doesn't know, like doesn't go to the coffee with the marketing department. AI doesn't really like go beyond the, I would say, like the traditional expectation of finance, doesn't go and call other departments to push them to make more sales this month because we have to go to our objective. Um, AI is also not there next to the CEO to anticipate a forecast question. So all of these businessy skills, it will be, I will say, much more needed in the future because people will know what AI can do and will expect, okay, like I know that AI can automate a lot of things. I know that I can ask AI for also to have information from the ERP. What I need is a business guy or a business girl. And they will expect that from finance to be much more businessy. And this is the second profile that I think will win from more AI in finance.
mm. And I think that's actually a great segue into the next question, which is, can you create agents or leverage AI to help with the business process and collaboration?
Yeah, so we saw one example that I did is to everything that what you are doing repetitively with AI, then you should create an agent for this. Um, so now what I showed you is one example of how you can extract the information from transcript in the same way, in a structured way to get the same output. But then you can kind of join different AI agents to get your output. And that's something really where if you are still human, always re-explaining all the time the thing to AI, you are already a bit behind.
Mm,
Because I showed you today, I could just upload the PDF and then I got my output. So you need to start creating this AI assistants that know about you, so you don't have to re-explain the context, that know the process, so they have the right instructions, and where you can also start to couple them together to get a better output. And also give them to the rest of your team so that you start to get also more consistency in the way you use AI as a team.
Great. I'm just going to keep going. We've got a lot of questions and not a lot of time, but how would you position a business case to the decision makers of the business that AI is a worthwhile investment?
Well, I think what happens with AI is that it allows us to do more, and it's really hard to quantify that because finance we are not sales people where, oh, if I have 1 hour more, I can make another sales call and then make
Mhm.
maybe one sale more. So I think the way we can show the business case is the dashboard that you can create right now, the Excel analysis that you can do fast. And each time you can accelerate maybe the closing time, each time when you go to a board presentation, you are just delivering like another type of presentation, not the same one that you did faster, but also with much more insight and something much more clear. It's a bit hard to quantify, but you cannot let that unseen. Like people will see the effect and they will ask, okay, like what is happening? Like why is finance now showing me like crazy dashboard and they didn't have any consultant, they didn't hire any BI guys, they didn't buy a new tool. What is happening here? And people will be curious. And then if finance is pushing the button, then we will look good in finance. And soon, also, you actually don't need much money with these tools. Everything we showed today is most of the tools using AI are also not really expensive. It's really the old legacy tools and the transformation projects are really expensive. But now the finance teams and the new tools coming, the finance teams can adopt without consultants.
Yes, absolutely. And they're not as expensive either to
Yeah.
start with. There's a very low barrier to entry with someone, even if you're getting, paid versions of ChatGPT or Claude, they're not materially expensive for the business.
There was also a questions for Abacum, what I see. Maybe for you to address, um, Gina.
Yes. Yeah, I see one about licensing, which yes, Abacum is team license today. We do have teams of about one or two people who use, but you do need to have a full license to the platform. We don't have like a entry tier. That's a different. So yes, and yes, we do integrate with all those other systems. So happy to pull that offline as well. If you reach out to us, we're happy to give you more of a customized demo or talk you through how you could use our platform or if it makes sense for your use case. Um, yes, there will be a recording after this. We'll send it to everyone. I've seen that question a couple of times. Is there another one you're seeing that I'm not around
Yeah,
Abaco?
people were asking about my prompt. So the best way, I will just paste my YouTube channel where there, when I talk about the prompts, I always like give you a guide that you can download. So just go and go to my, I need to change to everyone. So I'm pasting my YouTube channel in the chat so you can open it on the side. And there in the videos, under it, normally there are guides with the prompts that I'm using. So everything is there.
Yeah. A question around creating and executing prompts in Claude. Does it save the prompt? It saves the prompt if you go through that process of either creating it as a project in Claude or a custom GPT in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you
I
need
don't
to create in Claude, you need to create a skill,
Yes.
uh, but it doesn't save for future reference. No.
No. Hmm. Okay. And then last question I see in the Q&A, can you talk about accuracy and performance from these
Yes.
agents?
So I think really important is to understand when something is deterministic, so meaning calculated, when something is probabilistic, meaning that it's a random answer which can change all the time. Um, by default, generative AI generates answer. Doesn't like so that means that if you tell AI, oh, can you do a story where 3 plus 3 is 7? and it will tell us a story where 3 plus 3 is 7. So that means it can create a reality that doesn't exist. And this is the risk, which people, I think now they understand. We don't even need to re-explain that. I think people are aware it can do mistake. Um, because of this, you don't want AI to show you a calculation. Instead, you want AI to generate a formula
Mm,
or a code, and you want this formula or this code to be executed in a place where you know that it will be deterministic and it will always work. And those two places are one is Excel. So you can ask, like I showed you with the model, you can audit everything. It's with formulas and with input. So you can audit everything. And second, the other places is the code, and the code is deterministic. And so you can ask, because if you are like me, maybe you don't know how to code, but you are still, I hope, not that lazy to ask AI, well, explain me why this code is correct. Like, let's audit the code together. And then you just ask this, and like this, you have the documentation, and you can check that the formulas that are in the code are correct. And then if the formulas are correct in the code and your input is correct, then the output is correct as well. So I think it's really important. If you cannot trace it back to a formula or to a code, then you should not believe anything that comes out. But normally now, you can click, it will give you the code, or you can ask to extract the information in an Excel file, and always ask for formulas. Do not ask to have just hard coded value.
that's a great point. I hadn't even considered that, but I really like that. And for the AI that runs in Abacum, we will always explain the thought process of like what model are we accessing, what scenario are we pulling that data from, so that you can kind of back check the work of what our AI is doing. So it's not a black box of I've asked a question and I don't know why I got this answer. And you can, yeah, as you mentioned, always ask follow-up questions to further clarify or ask for the information in a table, in a spreadsheet, somewhere that you can actually look at it and analyze it for accuracy. Um, Last question I've got here. Oh, and they keep coming in. So one last question I've seen here is around Abacum's AI capabilities, and is it a threat, some of these Excel Copilot or Claude Cowork to Abacum? And I would say, first of all, they exist in Harmony, like I showed you in that board deck creation example. There's also lots of things you could do on top of the data you have in Abacum with a Claude or Copilot. But to me, the biggest difference is scalability, right? So you have your data coming into the platform of Abacom, it's being curated. You can live in there, you can collaborate in that system as your finance team scales, as your, executives that you're managing expectations with and planning with scale. You have one central place for everyone to make sure the context is shared and accurate and stored in harmony. So I think for me, AI tools and FP&A tools are better together, right? Like they both are helping each other increase in terms of efficacy for the business. I think for, smaller companies, maybe they don't need to get an FP&A platform as soon as they would have in the past. I don't know. That's my take. Okay. The type of AI analysis tool, sometimes you have categorical mistakes. When two columns like city and state are related, you can see the error with a pivot table, but when it's a black box, you can miss. I agree. I don't know if there's a question in there, but I agree that yes, you do need to make sure you're error checking across when you're using these tools, as we discussed. And then I did see an ask for that scenario modeling template that you shared in Excel.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So if you go on YouTube and you check our videos, there is like a video on this, and there will be the guide on how to get access to the Excel file, so you can rehearse yourself and exercise yourself.
Great. Okay. I don't see any other questions coming through. I really appreciate everyone joining. And oh, one more. Which tool is better? Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot? Someone sent it and deleted it, but
Yeah, this is a question we always get. So for me, it's not which tool is better, because anyway, they always change, is
Mhm.
more which tool is better for you. Uh, for example, if you are working with Microsoft, and I know there is a lot of Copilot bashing, but you know what I just showed you is Excel AI agent mode. This is with Microsoft Copilot license,
Mhm.
and people just don't know about it. But the big advantage, you are in the environment that your company trusts because they trust Microsoft, and you have access also to your work data. Like the AI has access to your work data. So that makes all of the AI product from Microsoft much more valuable because you don't have to connect anything. You don't have to think about security because you already trust Microsoft. And the AI of Microsoft is in the same environment. So um, then that's a Microsoft shop. If you are a Google shop, good news, Gemini is included in your Google Workspace license. So you don't even have to pay for it. I had clients where they were about to buy new tools, and I told them, but can you just try if it works? Because I think you have it. And then they tried and they just saved 16K like this. So, and then if people are individual, so for themselves or as a consultant or fractional CFO, this is where you can go to ChatGPT or Claude, but make sure you get again a business license, which is at least compliant with SOC 2 Type 2, especially if you are working with client data. So that is really important. And you know, like how everybody now is super hype on Claude. Well, Copilot just released Copilot Cowork, which is like the replicate, just the copy of Claude Cowork, and on top they use Claude behind, like Anthropic models. ChatGPT released ChatGPT in Excel. The Excel AI agent mode is there as long as Claude in Excel is there. Like they were released at the same time. So all of these tools, they will just always like one will be hype, the other one will look like old, and then it's just a cycle until maybe there is not enough money to finance all of this, and then one will win everything. But I believe that Microsoft Microsoft will win the corporate war. I think ChatGPT, probably the consumer one because they will be maybe the new Apple, and then Gemini Anthropic will be the contender. Probably Gemini has like a good like general position, and
Mhm.
Anthropic, if they keep yeah, if they keep to innovate, probably why not they could stay, but they have I think like less distribution than all of the other tools.
Yes, definitely so far. But I will say for me, in terms of the use cases I have, I would say the quality I get from Claude is better, but I'm not
Yeah,
doing
right now
financial
they are at the
analysis
top.
and
Yeah,
they go,
right now, if you had to choose and you are alone, you should go with Claude. If you are a
yeah,
company, you should first look at what is your context, and you should think long term. And I think long term, Microsoft is going to deliver on good products.
yeah, I completely agree. Okay, well, great. We are a little bit over time, so appreciate anyone hanging over with us. And as I said, we're hosting our AI Summit in New York, April 9th. You will see information as well as a recording of this webinar in the follow-up email. And again, thank you to all of you for joining, and thank you, Nicola, for spending some time with me today.
Thank you, Gina.
Great.
Bye bye.